simple. The whole idea is when he's asking questions about your origin story, there's the person that you became, and so we need to draw logical, I guess a logical line between how you became that person, because obviously you became an outsized personality, leading a front, being a front man for a rock band. Not everyone does that. That's what I'm trying to come up with. So there has to be some mitigating factors. So first of all, I think one thing we're glossing over is that you had hip dysplasia.
Yeah, but I didn't.
You didn't know about that?
No, I mean I was very flexible. I inspired to be a circus clown with Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Really? Like you were gonna go to circus training?
Well, because my mom and dad both grew up in Baraboo.
Yeah.
And Baraboo, Wisconsin was the headquarters of Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Is it really?
Yes.
I thought it was Florida. Is that Florida?
Well, you can go to Baraboo and there's a circus museum. There's everything.
Spell that Baraboo?
Baraboo. B-A-R-A-B-O-O.
No shit.
Baraboo, Wisconsin.
So do you think that it's because you live there?
No, it was because that's where my parents were. That's where they were rooted.
Well, I'm saying is, but you became a front man because you lived in proximity to Bellin and
basically, yeah. I mean, I always wanted to coming up with skits and private parties with myself because there was nobody else to listen or whatever.
So how often would you come up with the private parties when you were younger?
Very, very, very frequently. I mean, I spent a lot of time in my quote-unquote basement and, would spew out this shit. I mean, I remember one of the first poems I ever wrote was, I wrote a poem on my wrist. I used a razor as my pen.
No shit. That's a great line. That's a fucking great line. The fact you remember that too, that's like what, 40 years? Okay. Yeah. So that leads us into the second question. I see where he's going here. Was there any one specific event or series of events that ultimately culminated in your decision to choose Jesus? And it's a two-part question. We'll start with that. So what was your Christian awakening?
Well, that was later in my teen years. After we moved from Wisconsin to Texas, I guess being in part of the buckle of the Bible Belt, my dad was a coach, and my dad's coaching staff said, well, hey, you need to start coming to this Baptist church. And so I went because it was mandatory on Sunday mornings that I get my lazy ass out of bed and go to church.
Yeah.
But it really didn't hit me until youth camp.
So youth camp was a transition.
I went to a youth camp and
was it like overnight the youth camp, or was it like
No, it was a full week, and I remember everything from rowing a boat and trying to figure out how to paddle my way to shore after being taken way out into the lake or whatever it was, and make it to shore. And
that's what they made you do.
Well, no. It was
did you have a life vest, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was just one. It was the early stages, I guess, of what became Survivor on TV.
Yeah, there you
go. But I went and I thought, all right, since they're talking about rock music being evil, I'm gonna infiltrate the evil.
So you're gonna infiltrate the evil and make it good.
And no,
were you in mass one time and like something just clicked, or was it just kind of like a normal, natural understanding?
Well, it was one of those things that, like I said, after hearing and see, we went from Baptist to Assembly of God, so
right. Oh, you're Assembly of God?
So the Assembly of God churches, of course, they believed in tongues and all these. Different things that
well, it's a very performative sort of way of doing, so you kind of took an example from that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that I remember being soaking wet, coming back from river, and they said, okay, well, we're having lunch and then we're going to have a conference afterward.
Okay.
And the guy was like, do you believe in Jesus?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I believe him as a prophet, as a person that existed.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's the son of God. I was, very crude and rude, and to the point of where I didn't care.
Okay, so it was like rebel. What age was this?
This was like 13, 14 years
13,
old.
14? Okay.
So, but like I say, is that it was within me to buck the system.
Okay, so
just because
through your rebellion, you've chosen after going to a. Because I'm just looking at the second question here, and I think we need to elaborate. So through going to a, and we're culminating this to an event, right?
Pretty much.
So now we've got a time frame. We've got 7 days in which you were. I don't know. I hate to use the word indoctrinated, but like there's a doctrine, and they're trying to say, hey, this is blah 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 blah. Rowing is Jesus, and there was no specific event. It was just kind of like a culmination, but it was also combined with your rebellion streak.
Well, and that was the thing is that everything that I had planned prior to going to this youth group, I was going to bring the most satanic music. I was going to,
so you're...
And I had all bundled within a backgammon set.
No shit. So in the backgammon set, what?
In the backgammon set, I had all these different tapes of music.
Okay, it was AC/DC or something?
Well, you had your AC/DC, you had your Kiss, a lot more of the other, a lot of the underground, stuff that I was exposed to.
In Wisconsin.
And I was just, ready to raise hell.
Okay.
Literally.
But at the same time, when you were trying to raise hell...
Well, it turned out that the people that I was supposed to room with, I got bunked totally separate from them.
Okay.
And so I had new people to meet, new people to, and, I felt basically lost within a church camp.
Okay. I see. No. To be honest, you're kind of painting a good picture here, because the whole idea is it's more of like...
I was lost within the church camp. I did not know anybody that I was rooming with.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
How old were you?
I was like 13, 14.
Okay, so formative years, yeah.
Right. I mean, I was just about to start high school. But I always felt that, look, if this God thing is true and he's supposed to save your heart, then my outside appearance didn't have to change.
Right.
So I kept the mohawk. I kept the...
You had a mohawk at this point?
Yes.
Wait, what color was it?
At this point, it was just the natural color, and tried to get away with shaving as much off as I could.
It was like
my natural hair color.
Right, okay. Well, no, you're brown now. So people brown as they age.
Right. Well, that's what's called dishwater blonde.
Okay. Yeah. So that leads us into the third question. How hard was the conversion at first? Was it like a simple?
Well, it's I guess you can say I caught my snap, because it was one of those things that...
You caught your snap?
Well, not having the things that at that time that were clouding my mind.
Yeah.
Dare I ask the deacon for a joint? I mean,
Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
I didn't think that whatever, but it became a renewal of my mind.
Okay, so
this just like Romans 12, 1 and 2.
Okay.
Says that, be not conformed to the world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove the will of God, which is perfect.
So this leads us perfectly into the second part of the third question is, did you ever look back, or were you tempted to return to your old ways?
Lots.
Every day?
Every day was a struggle since then. I mean, when I said yes to Jesus, I became the devil's worst enemy.
No, could you elaborate? What's the struggle, though? Like, so, just give me the long short of this.
Well, do right.
Okay.
From your nose to wrong. Pray for those that need prayer.
Okay. That makes sense.
And that's kind of where I was at. Was like, okay, all this stuff is new to me. I was, quote unquote, baby in Christ or whatever,
Yeah.
but I desired things of God, and I wanted to. If there was a personal relationship with Jesus, I wanted that personal relationship.
There was there's no like.
Well, I mean, religion has screwed it up, and to me, it was all about a relationship. You know, I wanted a relationship, something that was real,
right?
Something that was tangible, that I could feel every day, that I was in right standings with the Creator of this world.
So I'm going to go into question number 4. What exactly led you to channel your post-salvation youthful energy into music? This is then please tell me all about the formation. Okay, so this is a 2-part question. What led you to music?
Well, I was a punk rocker. I also.
How did you become a punk rocker?
Well, I don't know. I guess the music that I was listening to was, of course, 70s rock over the FM dial.
Right.
Heard Kiss, saw Kiss, was like, wow.
Where at?
I gravitated towards that.
Did you see him in Minnesota?
Yep.
Yeah. That's such a Kiss thing. Like, yeah, we're playing in Minnesota.
I mean, standing right in front of Gene Simmons, you know,
shit.
And I mean, it appealed to me. I wanted, you know, that rock star to come out of me, I guess you can say. And like I said, I'd hibernate in the bedroom listening to my Kiss records.
This is 70s Kiss, so this is like, what, Creatures of the...
No, before that. Dress to Kill.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
Dynasty.
Yeah,
Their disco. You know, but it was more of their
yeah, proto era, yeah.
Well, it was more of the makeup. It was, you know, the theatrics of it. It was, you know, like I said, it appealed to my clown wanting to be.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, no, and it seems like because you have that sort of aesthetic. Like, you wouldn't normally think Kiss, but like yeah, like the idea of...
Yeah,
well, I'm sorry, say that again?
Smooch. I mean,
yeah.
that was me and my Struve brothers.
Okay.
We would sit in their basement and do air guitars and drums.
Well, what led you
dress up like and.
At one point in time, you had to like be in front of a microphone or a guitar. Like, what led you to?
Well, I don't know an E from a G from a fucking A.
Right.
Okay. but you know, so. Ace Frehley was not my first choice. My dad was a drummer, and he had a marching snare.
Peter Criss?
Really? Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well,
but the one of the Struve brothers was deaf, and he could hear the beat or feel the beat.
So he was deaf, like completely deaf.
Completely deaf.
No shit.
Had to talk sign language to him, make sure he could read my lips when I was talking to him.
How the fuck does he know dynamics though? Like, I'm playing loud now.
Well, all I know is that, you know, he was on beat every beat, and so he became Peter Criss, and like I said, I emulated Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
Although I didn't know an A from a G from a fucking A. You know.
But so, like, what led you to like forming a band? Like, was there a compulsion to form a band or no?
Well, we were an air band.
Well, you guys are air drumming along,
right?
But at some point, you have to actualize it.
Well, and that's a little history that we did do something similar, and it became, I guess, what is now considered punk rock. Would, you know, just spew out all these angst and.
Well, how did you become aware of punk rock? Because it's a pretty esoteric. At least in the 80s or 70s, you know.
70s, you know, I mean, Ramones.
76, 70s, 70s.
If you go through your punk rock history, you had the Ramones, you had the Overseas, Nevermind the Bullocks.
Yeah, Sex Pistols. But you also had Iggy Pop and, you know.
But to me, it wasn't punk rock. It was just expression.
Well, but it was a visceral type of expression.
Right, and that's all it was. And we were called the Pubic Hairs.
So that was your first band?
First band at 13 years old.
Okay, the first band was named. So, like, but who got the equipment? You know, work a paper route or something?
Well, I did do a paper route, but I you know, like I said, I bought my first microphone at Radio Shack.
Okay. Audio Technica?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. Like
sorely missed Radio Shack, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus
Long live Radio Shack.
Yeah. No. Every time I go to Best Buy, I'm like, I just need a resistor. It's gonna be $800. What? Okay, so we're just kind of like focusing around
Moog. There was a Moog in my life.
Okay, so how did this culminate into Red Ink? Like, was there one day like you were playing around, playing gigs? When did you play your first gig?
Well, my first gig wasn't until '88.
So you started in '70 what?
That was just kind of let me get my shit out. My angst, my ideas, my hate.
When was the first time you were on stage? Let me ask you.
Well, my first stage performance, and like I said, I mean, PB cares that all we did was practice.
Right.
So
as most young bands do, yeah.
So there was no stage there.
So with the next band you formed.
Well, with Red Ink, like I said, after I got saved, I was like, why isn't there any Christian music that sounds like what I hear?
Okay.
So
you formed the bands or the bands you were with that aesthetic?
Well, it was one of those things that it was like, I want to hear what I want to hear. You got one there still, unless you're finished with that.
Dude, just the last one. You want to do half and half?
Yeah, but I was gonna say, did you already?
No, the dirt hit it, and I'm chewing on dirt.
But again,
give me your beer, and I'll do half and half. I was gonna fill your beer up. Continue though.
Again, all this has to be off the record, the beer shit.
Person who's listening to us, we're just filling up each other's beer because we just ran out, and we're gonna find more in a second.
That's good.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not even halfway there. No, all the way. Half is gonna be lost. Okay. All right. Cool stuff. Cheers. But you see what these questions are getting at is like at some point in time you played in front of people, and at some point in time you joined this band in Red Ink.
Well, no, I started the band Red Ink.
So you did?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, why did you say that?
That's what I'm saying to you.
How did you start the band?
After coming back from youth camp.
Okay.
I was introduced to Jesus first and foremost as a friend.
Right.
Through a radio show called The Rock of Love, which was on a local Houston radio station.
What was the station?
KSBJ.
KSBJ. Okay.
At that time it was 88 FM. And they had this Saturday night show from 8 to midnight called The Rock of Love. And it was around 83, 84, after coming back from this youth group that I think really solidified everything, because the DJ actually said, hey, if there's anyone out there that wants Jesus to be their friend, you can pray this prayer with me. I mean, yeah, at the youth camp I got a lot of the hype and everything of the religion, the Assembly of God way of worshiping, loud, praise God, raise your hands, dancing, tongues.
So they're speaking in tongues.
Well, I mean, and I mean, yeah, it was, looking back at it, I look at it as, that's hypeful, or a very hype type atmosphere to be in.
Yeah.
And maybe I got the good feeling or whatever that they were trying to get through this. But at the same time, I'm sitting here, praise Jesus, hail Satan. Praise Jesus, hail Satan.
So it's a dichotomy. You're trying to blend a dichotomy.
Well, it was one of those things that I never claimed Satan as my Lord.
Right, but at the same time, there were satanic elements of bands that you liked, but you said, we can kind of get rid of these satanic elements. Like, Kiss is a good example. They're kind of agnostic.
Right.
But at the same time, they kind of have, like...
sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of what appealed to me. But at the same time, it was one of those things, like I said, I wanted to live a lavish lifestyle.
All right, so well then let me.
That kind of goes back to earlier.
Okay, so the lavish life. So we're only a question for you, but I'm gonna elaborate here. So because you went to this Christian camp, became converted, you wanted to inject this type of thought into music, and then you formed a series of bands. Start with pubic hair.
that was when I was younger.
Right. No, but at the same time, but you wanted to legitimize it into a forming act.
Well, the pubic hairs was like 78, 79.
And so we have a gap here that when you formed the band Red Ink. So when did Red Ink first form?
Red Ink first formed in, I'd say, 84.
Okay, so there's 85. Like a 4-year, 5-year gap.
After
conversion, punk rock hit and
after conversion, punk rock died. And conversion.
Right.
Because I looked at it as a tool.
Okay.
Saying, okay, well, there's this real brash music, and Jesus is a real brash guy.
Yeah.
You know, why not mix the two?
Okay. And then so how did you recruit those people? Were they friends?
Well, God sent them my way. I mean, it was just.
There wasn't Craigslist back then.
No.
So like, you got there like.
Okay. My bass player, for instance, you know, he was the guy that got me into the Christian rock show. But at the same time, like I say, I would go down to the city of Houston, and I'd party my ass off and come back just before midnight.
Okay, but it definitely took a transition going from small town. I forget the religious sect, but Seventh-day Adventist? What was that?
Well,
Fellowship of God.
Well, the Assembly of God.
Yeah, Assembly of God. But so you moved from Assembly of God, which is definitely a kind of like I've been to
charismatic.
Yeah, not very much so, but it's very much a performative thing. Like you will never not see that stuff, and so that you took that ethos and then took it to the South, and then met these people. And you wanted to inject that ethos. Correct me when I'm wrong, but like the whole idea is you took that ethos of being kind of like a
outsider.
Exactly. Yeah. Any person who is a front man of a band is usually an outsider.
Well, I definitely was an outsider. Like I said, I felt that when God saved me, He saved me from my wretched self.
Okay.
But He changed the inside, not the outside.
Right.
And so in that sense, there was still that rebellion of, well, I'm a Christian, but I still have a mohawk.
Right.
I'm a Christian, and I still wear bleached clothes, and you know. Do
you mind if I interject? Because I think you're bringing up a salient point. Is that there's a kind of like a contrarian duality of opposites. To like you like this music that's normally associated with
the world.
Well, no. Let me finish my sentence. There's a normal music that's associated, yes, with the world, but also with a wider dynamic, and that there's like some people who do not understand it are blended into Satanism. Like I don't think Kiss is a satanic band.
No.
Like if anything, a Jewish band. But
well, you got two Jews fronting it. So
yeah. But there's you never hear anything about that.
Right.
But at the same time, so you blended that aesthetic with your own ideology.
Goes back to Romans 12:1 and 2, what I quoted earlier.
Right. So the whole idea is
it was a renewing of my mind.
Right. So you're trying to come up with a synthesis of these two realms, and this is you like 15.
Yeah.
So, how old were you when you formed the band Red Ink?
It was, you know, my freshman year of high school. So 18? That was 15, 17.
No. Well,
15,
freshman.
16.
I'm thinking, yeah. 15,
I was about 15. You know, like I said, I mean, it was like I wanted to, you know, at the moment of conversion, I felt compelled within.
Yeah.
To do what Mark 16:15 says, and that is to go into all the world and preach the gospel.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. I took 2 years of learning all about this Jesus guy, learned all about his ways, what he did, who he was as a person.
Yeah.
Before he was the Son of God to me, he was a person.
Right. Did you feel that you were that type of person?
Well, and you know, I mean,
he was definitely a person who brushed up against stuff. But
that was my point, is that I wanted to elbow the world and say, hey, look at this.
Right. So did you feel kinship with Jesus figure?
Yes, but I never thought I was Jesus. That was the crucial thing.
Yeah, that God complex.
I never had the God complex. I never thought I was Jesus. I just wanted to represent him the best I could. And during a service, there was a guy that was explaining the crucifixion in detail, like, 39 lashes minus one, and or 40 minus one lashes that he took upon his body, and became this gruesome figure before.
Oh yeah. It's pretty horrific when you look at it. Yeah.
Well, and that's what appealed to me, was like, okay, the gore.
Okay, well, there's definitely a death metal sort of gore thing, but like at the same time, did you feel that there was like you were taking lashes from society, which is where it's even if we took the Jesus story as figurative, that you were taking those figurative.
Right, because I chose such a raucous sound to convey a soft-spoken message.
Right.
Because back then it was, I mean, in the 80s it was a thing that, well, this preacher says that you're using the devil's music.
Right. So there's a landscape of preachers.
So it was kind of a kickback to them and saying, look, I'm saved, I'm okay, and I still love Jesus, and
this is before PMRC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
way before.
Yeah, like 5, 10. Yeah. Well, but at the same time, you could definitely see that there was sort
right,
of
and rightfully so. I think that our album, because of the cover art, we should have had a PMRC.
Give me a description of the cover art.
Cover art is a gory story.
Elaborate.
A depiction of Jesus butchered on a cross.
Okay.
I mean,
tell you what, we're going to stop the recording on this, and his next question number 5, has a huge jump, and I'm going to find other questions. But that was 27 minutes.